Alright. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. It's the Esports World Cup Group A upper bracket, and OLIVEIRA is here in the round of 4, going for a gas first build. His opponent in the bottom right side, the man to beat in this matchup, who's spawned into an entirely, or not entirely, but mostly Terran bracket. And especially this side of the bracket is entirely Terran. So MARU, very happy. Well, I don't know if he is, because it's MARU, and I don't know if he's ever expressed happiness openly. But he is, of course, a player who's got a lot of potential and really could do very, very well here, because his TvT historically has been nigh untouchable. Occasionally 1 in 12 times Cure takes a best of 3, or Beyond sneaks a best of 3. Very rarely does anyone beat MARU on a TvT in a best of 5 or a best of 7. That being said, OLIVEIRA is really, really the hardest working Terran in the world right now. I mean, I think you could argue Clem puts in maybe just as many hours as OLIVEIRA, or close to, but I feel like OLIVEIRA comes out with more unique builds, twists on them, lots of preparation, studying his opponents. And I feel like the combination of the study of the game and the really preparing his build orders combined with the hours he puts in does really mean that OLIVEIRA is the player who is, like I said, the hardest working. Doesn't mean he's the best, though. He'll be the first to tell you. OLIVEIRA is like, I'm not talented at all. These guys are all so much more gifted than I am. I have to work so much harder to be anywhere near their level. And that's something, a sentiment he's expressed many times. Now, you're going to notice, why is the factory so late for MARU? Because MARU's gone a standard barracks gas expand. Whereas with the gas first, notice you skip production on your barracks here until you get 50 gas. You now build a reactor as he hits 50 minerals and 50 gas. Oh, but he actually builds a marine? That's odd. Wow, interesting. So he's, I guess, saving gas to go immediate starport cyclone. So I think OLIVEIRA just wants to have a very quick cyclone drop. I believe that's the idea behind delaying the reactor. Meanwhile, MARU is going for 2 Reapers into his own factory, and those Reapers will head forwards. MARU did SCV scout, as did OLIVEIRA, so they've both played rather safe here. And actually, it is a Hellion into starport. Nonetheless, same, of course, point does stand. Second gas is mining. Third command center. What the fudge? MARU! Oh my gosh, what? Okay. Wow, MARU doing the nasty there. Oh, Reaper Hellion coming down with the Marines as well from the high ground. Oh, gotta watch out. Reaper for a Reaper. But remember, a Hellion does beat a Reaper as well, so if MARU stays too long, he could be in trouble. And that's going to be another Reaper kill. Nice start here for OLIVEIRA. Dun, dun. You guys saw nothing there. That didn't happen. We definitely had damaged health bars on the entire time. Shh. A little bit of a snafu, but we got there in the end. I was like, why can I not see these? Tanks and medevacs are on the way. Hellions going forward. Did see a few comments, by the way, from people pointing out, they're like, hey, they were happy to see that we can actually see the death animations back. It's a bit of a silly mistake we made with that one. There was a mod we were playing that had a very, very weird nighttime effects, and the only way to make it not look terrible was to turn off the... what was it called? Effects? Or model? I think it was the models or something? There was some setting that I turned down, and apparently even if you have your physics turned on, if you don't have the setting on high enough, then it just will not actually animate their death. So all of the units were just like puffing into non-existence when they died, and it looked really weird for about a week and a half in all of our videos until I figured out what had happened. But that's why I never leave your settings. Now, guys, there's still no third command center for OLIVEIRA. He's really committed. MARU already has a third CC. 6 Hellions and a Raven against... well, I mean, this drop could do a little bit of damage. The Hellions will get up there pretty quickly with the Raven. Any damage is necessary right now for OLIVEIRA. He's also going to see that third command center's already finished. Gets a couple of worker kills. Does pick up and start going to the left. Now, remember, guys, that was only 1 SCV. It's mostly mining time there. You might be wondering, why didn't we get the SCV kill pop up? Because it only pops up on screen if there's at least 2 kills. He's going to go back in for more, but still no third command center in the main. And he's going second starport. Okay, so OLIVEIRA is going to play 2-port. 2-port Viking tank Raven. And he's going to go back in here. Could focus on the SCVs. Oh, standing and fighting. Very brave. Does lose a Hellion. Goes 1 for 1 there in that trade. Not too bad. Okay, we've got a starport there. Second starport in the natural. I think as Maru, you got to see no third command center. If he should immediately be sending a Hellion around the north, and when he sees no third command center on location, he should know what's happening. But I think he might have read into it anyway. I mean, Maru right now, this is a Hellion Raven army. It's not that good at standing and fighting with any of these units. I mean, yeah, you can roast the Marines, but the tanks, the Cyclones are going to cause you issues. You've got 3 Ravens, but I feel like Oliveira has a much better army right now. He's also started the third command center on location now at 5 minutes 50. Here come the tanks, the Cyclones, the Marines, and the Raven. He's easily going to deny this base. I almost feel like Oliveira should shove on the army and just go win the game. I feel like, okay, now 2 Cyclones for Maru come down. That's going to help him out. The command center is so low, though. The command center is so low. Dude, this could be a bust. Oliveira could actually bust through here. These tanks, wow, they'd get an extra shot on those units. The command center does survive for now. 2 more barracks coming in. But remember, you've already got 5 barracks on the way for Maru. Maru does not have stim, though, or anything like that. He's trying to make his own Vikings because he's worried about losing the air fight, as there is Viking Lib coming across this map now for Oliveira. Oliveira's got, at the very least, a soft contain. Gets another SCV that's coming out as well. Maru just needs to buy time. And he's got to really be careful about when he uses his Raven energy. If he uses that too early, then he is just done for, right? He's got to be very, very careful. If he uses them all at once without it actually working, it could be a big problem. Now, I think Oliveira looks like he's planning to go for a push. He's thinking about it. Oh, he gets a few shots off. Liberator does come forward. Nicely done. He's going to try and shove forward. Those tanks no longer covering the ramp fully, but you can see here, they're actually, one of them is in range. They're just going to come forward. Here we go. Big fight, big fight. Interference matrices go down. Auto turrets on both sides. Maru spamming auto turrets like no tomorrow. One of his auto turrets has not gone down yet. He's still got energy for one more auto turret. He will manage to break out right now. Maru does bust out, but at what cost? There's still a tank out here. Oh, no. Oh, okay. He doesn't even clear the contain. 29 SCVs. Doesn't even clear the contain. And that should, I mean, mate, it's bleak. I think Maru's pretty dead. If we look at it, his Viking count's similar. He's up a tank. He's up a Raven. So he has a very marginal army advantage whilst being, you know, 2 base against 3. And he doesn't even have his natural saturated. Oh, my lord. Maru's in the dumps right now. Double engineering bay is, of course, way later for Oliveira. He's going up against +1, already almost finished for Maru. 4th and 5th barracks are just now finishing. I mean, Oliveira's still got catching up to do in terms of his production. So you could argue it's still going to be a minute or 2 until he can utilize this economic advantage. But I love this choice. Just pull home. Don't risk losing these units, because if he loses these tanks and so on, that's when he's really, you know, in a troublesome position. If he could get the siege up preemptively, oh, this is dangerous for Oliveira, though. Auto turret does go down. He gets a few good tank shots off, though. I do like that move. Really nicely done. And he's just keeping Maru penned inside his base. Now, like I said, 1-1 upgrades are on the way. You've got your 4th and 5th reactors coming down on those extra barracks. These tanks are going to try to run away. He's got a tank to fall back on, though. Oh, this is actually really good for Ollie, is it? Is it, though? Oh, the Viking's going to be taking out 1 Raven. The tanks are going down, though. Looks like Maru's going to break the position. He does lose both of his Ravens. Nice micro from Oliveira, though. His Vikings really getting a lot of kills on the way out. He falls back. He's got a tank here. He could land the Vikings and crush this. Oh, wow. What a fight. He gets the medevac as it picks up the tank. Gets rid of that Viking as well. Don't land the Vikings, though. There's too many Marines and tanks. And Oliveira does have to fall back. He's building 2 Liberators right now, which is fascinating. Actually, oh, I guess because he's got 2 starports, remember, guys. So he can build 3 starport units at a time. 4th command center's on the way. Oliveira is miles ahead. Now, you might be thinking, well, what about upgrades? Wasn't he behind? Yeah, but Armory's only just started because Maru's been broke. He's only just resecured his 3rd. Maru is fighting from so far behind. Units lost tab. He's down 900. He does have the 1-1 finished, but he doesn't have combat shields. Okay, it's about to be done. So he's slightly up in Marines. He's got like the medevacs. He's still up on siege tank, but still down a good 15 workers. So Maru, right now, while the armies are similar, has to find some value. He knows he's got to be active. He's got to see if he can find some damage any way he can. He can't just throw his army away, though, because one bad fight and he's basically dead. But maybe he can find some value here. Catch Oliveira asleep a little, perhaps. Here we go. Marines coming forward. Liberator tries to siege forward, but nice stim and engage on that. This command center's in the open, dude. Oliveira right now, he's just going to have to cancel that command center. He's going to have to cancel it. He's got to make the decision. He's trying to break this position. He doesn't want to give it up. Finally cancels it at the very last second. But that's actually a huge snipe. Maru gets the 4th base and gets out of there. Dude. Oliveira had the numbers to defend that. He just wasn't in front of his base, his command center. And this is why you don't build command centers out front like this, guys. You always try to build it further back, there, or in the main base. But guess what? He's only got space here. I think he's barely got space there, because notice how his buildings are all kind of haphazardly, just placed all around. Whereas if those engineering bays were tucked over here, these barracks were in nice tight rows, he wouldn't be filling up so much space. But because he was throwing this production down while sieging MARU on the other side of the map, you can tell that Oliveira's base is just a little sloppy. So that's why the command centers are being built out front. This is actually a little detail that's really going to evolve over the next year or two in Terran versus Zerg. You're going to see Terran players start to be much more conservative with that command center placement, because one of the slowest and most inflexible parts of Terran is how long it takes to get expansions up. Build an expansion, float it out, and if it ever dies while it's building, it just delays you so very long. Despite that, Oliveira still has an absolutely massive lead. It's just not spiraling as much as it would. It's not snowballing, right? Oliveira essentially has had the brakes put on his snowball just a little bit by MARU. But if he can snipe this 4th command center, there's only 2 tanks. That's definitely not. He can just stim, kill those 2 tanks, kill the command center and the SCVs. That could be a massive move. If he goes for it, dude, it's actually super worth there. But I think he realizes, I've been spotted. And actually, it's MARU who's going to come in, but only finding a Sensor Tower and an SCV. Nothing too valuable. Oliveira is going to pull back, try and pull these Marines. I would like to see him send those to the top right and try to cut off the retreat of MARU. Right now, Oliveira has way more Marines. If you look at the production, they're both on 2 factories, 5 barracks, but there is an extra starport, of course, for Oliveira, who's now gone Reactor. Wow, I thought he'd go Tech Lab and start early Raven production, but he's going to play more of a Viking Lib game. This is one of my favorite ways of playing TvT. Technically, Ravens are always going to be the more efficient unit in a long game, but Viking Lib can just punch through your opponent's siege line. Dude, MARU's moving forward. Oliveira's whole top side is unprotected, but MARU, I think MARU has to come home. MARU's got 8 tanks, 8 versus 8 right now. The Viking Lib's a problem though. Marine count still double for Oliveira. So Oliveira both has air control, similar tanks, and double the Marine count. Dude, he's got such a scary army right now. MARU though is getting close to maxing out. And has Oliveira taken too long to press the advantage? Maybe. That Liberator will go down. Oliveira no longer has a Lib there. He's got like 1 Reddit point 1. MARU just clicks on it and turns away. Dude, MARU's doing a great job of just buying time. Remember how far ahead Oliveira has been in this game. Guys, he's got 80, 70 Marines. He's not doing anything with them. If he was dropping around the back right now, maybe. But look, even that's covered. There's turrets on every side. There's tank in the natural. He literally needed to like drop down the right into the natural and the main with like half these Marines. He's stalling out way too long. And MARU is literally going from dead man walking to canceled your 4th command center. Got your nose. Get out of there. You know, got your 4th command center. See ya. See ya. Don't want to be ya. And now he's still managed to delay the fight. And MARU's not even maxing, guys. Look at this. This is how MARU dies sometimes, is he doesn't max out, which is really bad if you're going to get busted. But notice how he's very methodically. He's like, I want more command centers, tanks, Ravens, SCVs. Oliveira is sitting on 68 workers. Oliveira is not playing to the end game. Oliveira is now adding a 3rd and a 4th starport so that he can get more Ravens out. But he's been running around with a big ball of army. And this is not... You know, this was such a fantastic early game, but this is now no longer the sort of elegant game that he's going to be needing to defend. Marine stim on top. Vikings can't deal with that, I don't think. Oh, just barely. Looks like there was a tank on the high ground. Got a few shots off as well. But Marines up top will get themselves a sensor tower. Nice move for MARU. MARU is happy to throw his Marines away. Notice he's going down to almost no Marines. And these Marines are going to run into a planetary tank position. Crazy attack for Oliveira. Gets rid of a Raven and a few tanks. I mean, he has the Marine count. He can afford to take a bit of a messy fight. This is a crazy engagement. He gets rid of a lot of the siege tanks, but that is also his Marine count gone. Meanwhile, oh my gosh, MARU stims into the 3rd with his small pack of Marines and blitzes over him. Oliveira takes massive damage. Now, Oliveira does take down this 4th base, but he needs to rebuild his workers, and he needs to get on top of these Marines over here. Marine tank will be able to defend that base. Finally, Oliveira out of 55 workers against 58. And you've got, right now, 3 Ravens for MARU. You're both building 2 at a time, but you got to watch out because interference matrices could come down. So Ollie's going to pull home. He's got a 5th base up against now only 3 bases mining actively for MARU. This should favor Oliveira, but oh my gosh, he goes for it. Sorry, I didn't even catch it. The Viking land, a crazy move for MARU. He's going to lose all of his Viking control, but he does take out a lot of Oliveira's tanks. That's interesting. I don't know if that was worth it for MARU. Oh, if he got rid of all the tanks, yes. As it is, Now he lost his air advantage. Similar tank count. Still more Marines out for Oliveira right now. Oliveira's 3-3 is going to finish. +2 vehicle weapons coming in for both sides. Vehicle plating's already there for MARU. MARU, you can tell, is gearing towards late game. Viking tank lib Raven, like a Viking tank Raven. He just wants the very slow, methodical, efficient army to win out. If we look at the orbitals, guys, it's 4 versus 3. How is there only 3 orbitals? Oh, Oliveira's made planetaries everywhere. Okay, guys. So this is... I kind of understand why Oliveira is doing this, but strategically, I think this is a mistake. If you've got more bases, more map control, I don't think you want planetaries on all your bases. And the reason for this is you really should be wanting to swarm. You've been playing a more marine medevac heavy style, and I feel like you want more orbitals and more bases to propel your economy, to really put pressure on your opponent, because you're like, hey, I'm on 6 bases. They're mostly orbitals. One side of the map that you think is going to be less defended, put a planetary up here, but then put orbitals on the bottom side kind of thing, and just build extra orbitals to warp in. Now, arguably, he's swapping to Ravens and vehicle plating and stuff as well. The Viking advantage is going to be really big when push comes to shove. Right now, it's the same Ravens, but the Viking advantage goes to MARU. What an amazing job MARU's done, though, in this game. Just remember, he lost 30 workers and didn't even clear the contain. He should be dead. He should never have made it this far in this game. And to be fair, Oliveira did miss a window where he could have forced the issue. But dude, oh my god, here we go. He's going for a crazy attack. He does interference matrix most of these tanks, but wait, there's still a few tanks in the back firing. Oh, I think this was an overextension for Oliveira. A bit of a YOLO there. He got rid of like 2 or 3 tanks with interference matrix, but there were still 2 or 3 in the back that got some massive shots off. And Oliveira there does get sieged on by MARU. Does take out 2 of these tanks. That was a mistake for MARU, going a little too far forward. 76 against 75 workers, 3 tank advantage to Oliveira. Oliveira's in a great position. Now, at this stage, I'd love to see Oliveira split push, but it's kind of scary when you're Raven versus Raven. Because if you separate your units, you're kind of presenting a target for them to just interference matrix 4 tanks, stim on top, kill that part of your army. So I guess I say I'd like to see a split push, but then I immediately realized we're past the point where split pushing can work. You'd need to do that when there's only a few Ravens on the map. Right now, splitting your army up could be a death sentence. Second armory coming in, as well as 2 more starports there for Oliveira. Now, there's no actual money for ship weapons for MARU. He's building a Banshee, interestingly. So I guess he just wants to use that kind of like a Liberator with his air control to maybe pick away. He's also going to make +2 vehicle plating. I wouldn't be surprised to be +2 to see +1 ship weapons. Because like I said, man, Viking versus Viking ship weapon upgrades are really going to matter the longer this goes. They're both scanning each other right now. And, oh, wait, they're both moving right into each other. This is crazy. Oliveira panics and sieges. MARU could have pushed past. I really feel like this is so weird. These fights are so hard to judge because, like, it's all your tanks are just going to get wrecked on both sides by interference matrix. You both have very similar marine counts. So the question is just, can you somehow have some tanks in the back firing that the enemy Ravens can't get to because your Marines are protecting? That's kind of the name of the game right now. Ship weapons coming in for Oliveira first. 3 more barracks actually go down for MARU. Now, MARU's on 4 orbitals. He's building a lot of command centers, as is Oliveira. And I feel like MARU's kind of waiting for Oliveira to make a big mistake. Oliveira's going to pounce, though, and it might actually be MARU who makes the mistake. No. Good move by MARU. Doesn't lose a single tank. Few interference matrices get used. Remember that Raven energy is a resource as well. But you can tell this is what MARU does in these scenarios. It's very rare. He's one of the few times when you look at a player at this level where you can kind of tell he just thinks he's better than the opponent, and he just is happy to just chill out and wait for them to screw up. Like, he's not making a play. There's no play that MARU's making other than build more command centers, make all the upgrades, and wait for you to screw up. And you know, historically, his opponents screw up because he's so good at treading water in TvT. I feel like you got 2 guys out there in the open ocean, and MARU's plan isn't to try and hold the other guy under and drown him. It's, I just have more endurance than you. I'm just going to tread water for like 6 to 10 hours. You're going to start just, you know, slowly swallowing that seawater. And here we go. Is this the mistake he was looking for? The tanks are exposed. Massive interference matrices. MARU pounces on top. Counter matrices come down, but there's still 5 tanks in the back. The Marines focus down all the Ravens. So only a few interference matrices got down for Oliveira. And that was the fight he was looking for this entire time. An absolute slaughter. An absolute slaughter. Got to the Ravens, got to the Vikings, kept his own Ravens and tanks alive, killed every single tank. And that's a game-winning fight. He's up 50 supply in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye. The crazy thing is, it didn't feel like he was looking for that engage, right? He was just waiting until there was an opportunity. Like, every other player, you can tell where their attention is. You can tell they're trying to force a fight. Like, when Oliveira dove through this area here. But Maru's he's just like, no. Like, he's like the patient fisherman, you know? He's like, dude, you can't force it. You just sit there and just wait for them to buy it. And then you reap the rewards, you profit. He's up in Vikings is Oliveira, but he's so far down on tanks. With the Ravens here, I feel like Maru's just able to march forward and deny his bases. Look at that, 2 tanks in the top denying that planetary. Got to attack this with SCVs is actually the counterplay. Oliveira doesn't even stay in the game, and we have to watch that one more time. So not only this final fight, I don't think he even let anything die, right? I think he just left because he knew he was dead. Yeah, he's like, well, I can't stop that. Let's go back to that big game-ending fight on that right side, because this is a beautiful engagement, isn't it? And it's just, Oliveira was just a little out of position for a moment. I'm not sure if he didn't have the scan active, but, you know, Oliveira was the one who was kind of trying to, like, move around and find an angle and siege up on his face, and this is it doesn't look like an opportunity to me. I would not recognize this if I was in Maru's shoes, but look at this. Notice something, guys. Number 1, all of the tanks are unsieged. Whereas if you've got at least 2 or 3 tanks sieged, you're going to get amazingly powerful opening volleys on these Marines. That's going to shred them, right? So that's one thing. Now, what's the other thing? This is the much bigger thing. The Marines, how are they going to get into the fight? Because Oliveira has to instantly siege when he realizes what's happening. So if he sieges, how do his Marines get to the fight? There's a tiny opening there and a tiny opening here. So all of his Marines are essentially blocked out of the fight by this turret that's building and these siege tanks. He actually should instantly cancel this turret to at least give him a bit more room and try to get his Marines in front of his tanks so that he can at least have a Marine versus Marine battle. But last but not least, Ravens and Vikings are very far away. They're not sitting over the tanks where they need to be. So, see what I'm talking about? And look, because his tanks moved up, he actually blocked that opening. So now his Marines are even more blocked. So he can only get like 2 Marines through here or 1 at a time. So this is the disaster of all positions for Oliveira. And he gets like 1 tank shot off, and then every tank sieges, and the interference matrices land. He gets a second siege tank shot, so he only gets 2 tank shots off. Only 2, and look, what are the Marines doing? They're all stuck behind each other. They can't get into the fight. They can't get through this choke point. Now, he does land an anti-armor missile, which is great of Oliveira. Good on him. Maru doesn't prioritize that. And you might be like, why not? Because he's prioritizing other things. Would it be a great bonus to do? Absolutely. But it's not as important as clicking on these Ravens, which he's about to do. He sees the Ravens coming in, and look how quickly he focuses them. He pulls down, and I think he even just holds positions. Do you see how he pulled his Marines back? Because if he pulls back a little bit and just holds position, he's not really in range of many of these other units. They'll naturally shoot the Ravens as they fly over top. So those Ravens all get popped. And whilst they do get off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7, they get 7 interference matrices. He's got 5 tanks in the back still firing. I mean, that is an insanely one-sided fight. Hats off to Maru for fighting back. I guess the last point I'd make, guys, is that Oliveira really screwed up by not capitalizing when he had the advantage. First big mistake was losing the 4th command center. I would say this is a totally understandable mistake because their army supplies were actually still very similar at this stage, and he didn't actually see him coming. He moved this Marine up here, but he didn't actually see him coming until he moved into the sensor tower vision. So he should have had some better Marine spotters. This was a little bit of a map vision mistake, and since his army count's a little low at this point, he doesn't quite have 1-1, you can understand why he's in a more defensive position. So losing the 4th command center, that's a bummer, but I think it's more about 11-12 minutes where you can kind of look at this and say, wait a second, look at the supply. And not only that, like the thing is, like, you can afford to play it safe and slow if you didn't lose your 4th command center. Or even if you did, if you're building a 5th and a 6th command center right now and you're very focused on like the tech units. But the thing is, he's not. Oliveira ends up going for essentially a max out on mostly Marines with quite a few medevacs. And if you do that, you really need to find a way in. And I think at this point, honestly, if these Marines stimmed on this, he could have just ran in, killed these 2 tanks, and this would have done so much damage to Maru. Because what's Maru got to respond with, guys? He's got nothing. He's got a few Marines in his main. He's got a few tanks scattered around his base. If these Marines stimmed in here, this would have been massive. But Oliveira kind of second guesses himself. He goes, oh, I can't attack. It's just 2 tanks. You have like 30 Marines here. So backing off there and then just taking so long and letting MARU catch up on the max out is really bad because you're ahead. You always want to fight when you're getting close to max and your opponent's way behind. If you let yourself both max out at the same time, your advantage disappears. But also, you're on less workers. MARU went to the mid-80s on workers, focused on extra starports, extra factories, lots of extra tech units, lots of turrets. MARU was clearly aiming for the late game, whereas Oliveira sat on 68 workers, which is a low worker count, didn't build extra orbitals, and he didn't build extra starports for a long time or a second armory. So I think Oliveira didn't really play to his strength and his direction, and he just kind of took a little bit too long to capitalize on his advantage in game 1. Nice hold on, and a classic comeback for MARU. All right, guys, you just can't afford to make any mistakes versus this man. I mean, MARU just comes back no matter what. Like, you can do anything you want. You can get yourself miles ahead, but if you do not finish the game clinically on time when the time comes, he will get back into that match. And that's so frustrating for Oliveira because we've seen players, you're kind of trapped between a rock and a hard place because when you're ahead versus MARU, you're like, I got to finish him. And this is what players used to always do. And what did we see time and again when players tried to force the issue? Beyond would pick up his whole army, boost into MARU's base, and lose every medevac, right? He'd try to force it and he'd throw the game away. Cure would commit his whole army to breaking MARU on the front. MARU would do like a fighting retreat with like tanks and ravens and just barely be staving him off. And you'd be like, well, he's dying though. Like MARU's dead. And then you'd realize MARU somehow snuck 30 Marines across the map, would stim into Cure's production, kill a command center, kill 40 workers, and just basically completely rip his legs out from underneath him. And this sort of thing has happened so many times where players overcommit to trying to kill MARU, and he manages to hold on while counterattacking with a handful of Marines, does big damage. And this is why players are cautious against him. But then you get games like the last one where MARU's not even maxing out from like 170 supply. He's like, I'm just going to build tanks and ravens, build turrets and command centers everywhere. And Oliveira really needs to, you need to fight for map control, get spotters out there, but you also need to press your advantage when you have it. Both sides are going to go for an early command center. You can see that the factory is slightly faster for MARU this game, as is the second gas, but pretty similar on both sides. Man, okay, so we're going to go back to Cyclones. We're going to see the old Cyclone medevac shenanigans. Looks like it. Starport there, but oh, MARU's going to go for a swappy swap. Okay, a couple of Hellions to start out, then maybe swap into double Cyclone. 2 Hellions into 2 Cyclones, pretty classic. Hellions very good for dealing with Reapers. 90 hit points for 100 minerals as well, but more importantly, it's the 21-second build time. Getting 2 of those cranking out at the time is always going to be nice. And Oliveira with that delayed reactor that he's been favoring. I guess both of them have been favoring the slightly delayed reactor, haven't they? It's interesting. We haven't seen a lot of reactor first in this tournament so far. I do feel that reactor first is pretty fantastic because if you look at the scouting, the SCV leaves before confirming if the barracks is building. Oliveira actually saw the barracks when it was finished. So MARU couldn't go reactor first because Oliveira would have known. Could have come across with his Reaper, killed an SCV or 2, caused some trouble. Now it is going to be 4 Hellions into 6 and a Raven. Wait, is MARU doing the same thing again? 6 Hellion Raven again. Interference Matrix? Or is he going to skip it? I mean, you can always delay it, especially if you're assuming to go... Yeah, there we go. He's going to start up. If you're going to go 3 Ravens, you definitely don't need to start it straight away. It's only 50 minerals and 50 gas, though, so it is a cheap upgrade. Both sides doing pretty well. MARU's supply is a bit ahead, and this is why. It's because Oliveira's cutting production. You know, MARU spent a lot of minerals on those 6 Hellions, whereas Oliveira's like, nope, just going to build a quick 3rd command center. I'm going to play defensive this time around. 2 Cyclones on the way as well. Wow. 6 Hellion, 2 Cyclone. I mean, it's a very good ambush army if your opponent comes out, but if your opponent's just camping with a tank, you can't really get in there and do anything. 3rd CC is up pretty fast for MARU as well at 4.5 minutes. So both sides going to be going into the macro game on site Delta. This map, of course, is famous for this ramp on your natural. If tanks get control of that ramp, pushing down it with SCVs, Marines is going to be a disaster. So if you can get some sort of air control there, usually wins the game. Gets a spiteful Reaper grenade off before the Reaper goes down. He does see the 3rd command center, so a little bit more vision there for him, whereas Oliveira is in the dark. Extra barracks going to go down, and the Hellion Cyclone Raven army is going to move out and start roaming, looking for some value. Back into a more standard tank Raven style for Maru now, getting his own second and third barracks. You can see third and fourth gas are up for him, because the fourth gas hasn't quite gone down for Ollie just yet. So he starts up his own third Raven and Stim. This is a mistake, guys. You can't be going 3 Ravens, Stim, tanks, double upgrades without a fourth gas. Oliveira, he's not going to be able to make his upgrades. There's just, so slight mistake for him on his build order. He's going to try and go 5 barracks before getting his fourth gas. I guess if he's happy to cut tank production entirely, which right now he is, you can see he's building reactors. Oh, it's not even a mistake. This is actually a choice. He's mapped this out perfectly. He's just happy to sit on 2 tanks for a while, which is dangerous, but he wants to power into the marine production. And I think against the Hellion Cyclone, because this has obviously delayed the tanks of Maru a lot. Like, I think if Maru does a 3 tank push is where you're kind of in a weird position here, pre-stim. But once 1-1 stim and shields finishes, you're kind of past the danger point for the most part. Oh, I don't know. Maru senses that you're so turtled up. He's going to... Oh, we're moving out with the Ravens. Very risky. Very risky. Because he can interference matrix your tanks. Then it's just Marines against Hellions. The Raven counterattack is always an incredibly dangerous move because you're going to not be able to use those defensively. Oh, tank on siege is good, but the triple auto turret focus fire should be able to take it down. Gets himself an SCV or 2 as well. Gets a Marine and SCV. All right, Ravens are going to come in, guys. He's going to dive on the economy, but you've got to be able to defend at home. Oliveira, he needs the Marines and the Stim. Remember, on this map especially, if those tanks get control of your ramp, things can go very, very badly. A couple of auto turrets going down in the main here. A few more would be good because that tank is not going down. The SCVs and the Marines actually kill him. Remember, auto turrets are nowhere near as tanky as they once were. He's getting a few SCVs, a couple Marine kills as well, but are you going to get the time to regenerate this energy? That's always the question that I have to ask. The Cyclones trap these Ravens. If Maru goes and cuts off the retreat, that would be huge. He's going to just go for the more conservative, get a bit of damage, and chase them away from the base. But that does allow the Ravens to potentially go home. Oliveira doubles back. Dude, Mad Dog. Mad Dog Oliveira has a Marine advantage right now. And he's got those upgrades. Remember what I was saying? If he survives to 1-1 in combat shields, he'll be good. Another auto turret goes down. Dude, Oliveira is being a nasty... But I love this play. Because right now, yes, his tank Raven is useless versus the tank Raven. But as long as he has double the Marine count, Maru can't push. You've got 1-1. You've got shields halfway done. I think for Oliveira, I'd like to see him stay mineral heavy, build a 4th command center on location, and just look for a big Marine ambush. As long as he's going to go for a double drop, which does mean he's a bit exposed in the middle. He's got to be careful. Yeah, you see, he's trying to stim forward because he knows he can't really fight this army. Oh, Maru's just going to shove him. Maru's going to shove him. Oliveira needs to run. Unsiege and run. Run. You cannot. He's trying to zone the Ravens. He's going to get jumped on. Oh, no. Oh, Maru diving with decisive vigor. He goes for it. The Marines there getting shredded by their Hellions. They were already pre-combat shields. Combat shields finishing just seconds too late. The double drop going to the other side of the map was a big mistake here. Oliveira was playing a bit too fast and loose. He already committed to the Raven run buys. Going for a drop there was a strategic error, and Maru is quick to recognize it. He says, your army looks way too small. You can't defend a fierce push right now. You already did not use your Ravens. I mean, you've already emptied your Raven energy. Now you go for a drop. There's no way you're allowed to do all of that. I mean, Maru's main's getting shredded, though. Maru's main is getting shredded. As long as Oliveira can overwhelm this main base... Oh, he can't, though. He can't. Maru barely defends his main and maintains the tank position on the other side of the map. Oh, you know, the thing is, if Maru doesn't push in that little 30-second window and this drop gets in, Oliveira runs away with this game so quickly, and Maru's just dead. Oh, he's going to go for the break. Can he break it? Oh, only one auto turret gets down. The libs are going to come out as well. The Marines, the tanks. Nice engage for Ollie. But, oh, it's just so hard to actually get in range of those tanks and completely take them out. Finally, he does manage to do so, but at what cost? Oliveira loses so many units. Looks like he lost the tank on the high ground as well. Was not actually expecting that. And, oh, he's so worried about the frontal push, which means the Cyclone and the Marines will redrop there. There is a Raven coming back. Oliveira's still got a lot of energy, interestingly. Bit of chaos going on. Marine tank on the front. Ollie needs to lift this base and get it out of there. As long as he keeps the base alive, he's okay. But that is a long shot because Marines with Stim do not care about anything. And the 3rd command center goes down. He has a 4th. He has 4th. Dude, if he could stabilize, he'd be good, but he's so far behind on Marines right now. Oliveira's going to anti-armor missile this, but his Marines are so damaged. He does get an interference matrix and a turret down. Kind of elegant engagement here for Oliveira. But he is... Oh, it's just outnumbered. 26 against 38 Marines. Anti-armor missile will wear off. Planetary up there will be able to defend itself. Right now it's 3 command centers versus 2, guys. He's only got 2 command centers. MARU is pretty darn all in this scenario. Yes, he's rebuilding workers, whilst Oliveira is not. Oliveira trying to float his command center away. He's like, yeah, I'm going to give up this position. But even losing depots is actually hurting him because he's supply blocked right now. Big Army's pushing up the ramp. He tried to leave with a drop, but every time he tries to counter drop, MARU pushes him. Oh, beautiful play. He lifts a barracks to allow himself to get an arc. I love the barracks lifts for Oliveira, but he lacks the numbers. Yeah, he lacks the numbers. Even if he wins this fight, it's so close. It's not a good enough trade. Yeah, he barely wins this fight, but at what cost? You've lost your add-ons. You've lost so many different buildings here. Where is that extra command center, by the way? Did he just lose his floating? Oh, he lost the orbital as well. I thought he lifted it and floated it to safety. I guess it got sniped as well. Oh, tragic. He's going to send a Liberator out on the map. He's going to think about going for a counter drop. Every time he tries to go for a counter drop, MARU moves in. This has got to feel like a cursed game too for Oliveira. Every time he goes for a drop, MARU just shoves it and kicks his butt, dude. What the hell? Game 1, MARU miles behind, fights back from the brink. Game 2, I still think Oliveira was actually in a good position until he moved out with that double drop. Even though it's always dangerous moving across with the Ravens, I actually think he was past the scariest moment in the game. But yeah, his combat shields being late, as well as those 16 Marines moving out, was a big issue. He also preemptively stimmed, didn't he? Because he like stimmed before the fight started, so he had to do a second stim, which is always a disaster, especially if your medevacs aren't there healing. Lib doesn't really get much damage. He's down 40 supply, 20 of that's workers, 25 in army. Does catch a few Marines. You need the perfect engagement. You're down 12 Marines, 1 tank, up 1 medevac, not really going to mean anything. I think for Oliveira, the only way he can win is by dropping, which sounds funny because every time he's moved out to drop, he's basically got punched in the face. This command center is going to get sieged up by the Liberator. Very nice play here. MARU shutting down the core of Oliveira's economy. It should take out 2 SCVs, I believe. Oh, just 1. Not bad. Single Marine will chase the Liberator down, but the reposition is good. Going for the drop is Oliveira. As I said, that's kind of his best potential play. And he is actually going to initiate a base trade, which is awesome. This is his best shot. Gets the Liberator over there. Does lose 1 Marine. Marine tank's going to push into his base as well. No way can he defend that. But he's taking out everything as it emerges. Oh, look at that position for MARU, though. Big tank shots from the low ground. Very big tank shots from the low ground. And MARU's going to shove in. Both sides will lose their production. Okay, in a base trade, Oliveira has a planetary... Yeah, he just knows. With half the army, he's like, there's no way. Because not only is he losing all of his buildings, but if you look over here, remember, MARU still has that tank position, which you can't really engage because you got to move through choke points to get on it. And MARU up 2-0. GG, well played. Oliveira's fighting really well today, guys. But, dude, that's just crazy. I mean, what the hell, man? MARU is so good. Pig, do you think breaking out of the main into those tanks with his own Marine tank, do you think that was a mistake given Oliveira had 2 libs finishing right as his tanks died? I think it was a mistiming issue. I think he kind of wanted the libs to siege as the Marines jumped on top, but it ended up being the Marines were stimming on top. Like this was when Oliveira was breaking out of his main that we're talking about, guys. The Liberators kind of popped out as the Marines were already like up on top of the siege tanks, whereas I think if the Marines and tanks engage 5 seconds later, like just as the libs start sieging is when you first stim and A-move the Marines. I think that's a much better fight. So yeah, I think it was not perfectly timed. It's a very chaotic situation in that sort of spot. I've done the same thing where I'm like, there's so much going on, I think, in that moment that I'm going to be able to sync it up. And then as the fight's happening, I'm like in disbelief, like, where the hell are the Liberators, you know? But it's like 2 or 3 seconds makes such a big difference in those scenarios. And when you're under that pressure, even the best players in the world do make some big mistakes. Maybe I'm crazy with planetary. I do think there was a chance of Oliveira of winning that, says Gravitas. It all depends on him breaking MARU's production. He needed to break that position, and I think he felt like he couldn't really stim in between the cracks in the building. But I agree. I would have liked to see Oliveira hang in the game, try to break the position, and see what he could get done. Now, anyways, he's playing against a double gas, double proxy. Well, single barracks at home, other barracks proxied. Oliveira is like, why are you walled off so early, bro? Immediately checks for it, and he knows that it is indeed a double barracks. Now, he's going command center on the high ground, which is very good. This should be a good start for Oliveira, as long as he doesn't lose his first Reaper. Normally, you'd build a bunker down here, I would imagine, because I think it's kind of hard for them to jump up that side. Not building a bunker is brave, for shoresies. He's going to just pull a few SCVs, which, I mean, this can work as long as you just don't stop building Marines and SCVs. But Maru knows he's been spotted, so he's going to jump up the top to start, because this is the more obvious angle. Oh, actually, he's not even going to jump. He's just going to poke the ramp. He sees the second gas just started. Reaper needs to be careful. Oh, he bounced Maru's Reapers back to the low ground. Dude, oh, Maru! If he loses those, it's a disaster. Okay, Oliveira, keep it in your pants. So you know there's a third Reaper that'll be arriving soon, so can't be going out there. But this is so far a fantastic hold. And the command center's still not started for Maru's. Give me that 400 minerals. He just cancelled a unit. He cancelled an SCV. He was at 350 minerals, and then he cancelled an SCV. Gets the command center started, then rebuilds it. Those little high-level adjustments to prioritize things. Okay, he's got to pull back now. Reapers are in the main base. Gets himself 1 SCV, 2 SCVs. Make it 3 very quickly. And I wouldn't mind Maru just backing out. Yeah, I think 4 SCVs in and out. Great damage. That's really good. Now that the Cyclone's out, Oliveira is going to be in a better spot. But you can see he's always been standing on the ledge to get the initial start of the fight really good. And he's going to kill 2 Reapers pretty quickly. Yeah, that was a much better fight for Oliveira. I think that was 2 or 3 Marines for 2 Reapers, which is pretty good. Yeah, 2 Marines for 2 Reapers. There we go. But the 4 SCVs that went down before that made this, I think, worthwhile for Maru. His command center is almost finished. And don't get me wrong, there's already an orbital dropping extra mules for Oliveira, but it's still got to float down. And that's why I think this kind of evens out. Starport's already done for Oliveira. He's going to go for tank, medevac, marine. So looking to potentially do a counter push. And the reactor's building. And it is medevac Cyclone against Viking tank. Ah, okay. Viking tank, you know, technically can counter the Cyclone medevac. The Cyclone medevac, as long as it's well controlled, can still find value, especially if you manage to somehow isolate the Viking. Oh, Reaper's coming in is a bit dangerous. The Cyclone does go north there. Oh, Oliveira. Oliveira, what are we doing? Oliveira. Oh, we got distracted by a Hellion on the natural, so we A-moved these units. Multitasking / micro error for Oliveira. Maru just sends a Hellion in. Reaps a 3 SCV reward for just a Hellion and a Reaper. These are early game units that he knows he's going to lose eventually anyway. And look at that. The Reapers are going to come in. Oh, Maru's playing with him. Look at this. Maru's feeling himself. He's just darting in and out, finding way more damage than he has any business. And you know Oliveira is shaking his head in disappointment right now. Disappointment in it with himself. Because those are mistakes he shouldn't have been making. But Maru's just being tricky. He's doing these little extra commitments, which he normally wouldn't do because he senses that he can get away with it. But here comes the counter push. Oh, and Maru's going to drop on top of the Psychopath. Oh, crazy move forward for Maru. But that already slows the push down. Takes the oomph out of it, right? And the unit's loss tab is kind of good. Not only that, Oliveira pulls back because he's like, well, if I push forward now, your Cyclone drop's going to start ruining my workers. Tank Viking building at home. 2nd starport and 4 gas. So Maru's committing to the Tank Viking. Dude, this has been a fantastic game 3. You can see Maru kind of powering up his confidence as this series goes on. Tank will take that out. Nice. Reaper doesn't really get any value. We do have an 8 Marine drop up against a 2 Cyclone drop. If that 2 Cyclone drop loops back, especially with the double Viking production, this could go really well for Maru. Marine's coming in. He's going to boost away, but that's the Cyclone drop. Oh, this is so good for Maru. Oh, this hurts. This hurts. Oh, Oliveira. Things are not going his way in this series. Starts the series well, but once Maru gets going, he is a absolute monster truck. It's going to be hard to slow him down now. 4th gas, 2nd starport starting. They're both already up and producing for Maru. So it's mirrored build orders. Now, the good thing here for Oliveira is if he does nothing but build Vikings, he can catch up in the air count, and he's up 2 tanks. But Maru, he just always finds the hole. He just always finds the opening. Oliveira, I told you he was tilted, guys. I told you he was tilted. His whole army was out here waiting for the push through the middle. The Cyclone drop finds his mineral line. Ollie is so tilted, he just taps. He's like, nope. Is this an early leave? Yes. Was the previous game arguably a slightly early leave? Maybe. Oliveira tilted off the face of the planet here by the way this game was going. And hats off to MARU for just going from a massive comeback in game 1 to a strong game 2 to a dominant game 3. What a turnaround in this series. GG, well played for MARU.